This is Tom Rust for TRSB Sports Podcast today. Delighted to be joined by professional boxer and the new Scottish heavyweight champion, Nick Campbell. How you doing, Nick?
Aye, all good, mate. All good. Back down to earth now, trying to go on with life, back to the grind, back to the drawing board, with one thing. So I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, first things first, congratulations. Massive win last weekend on an incredible show as well. You know, so many people are watching. Talk to us a little bit about the occasion, what it was like to actually be in the ring on that night.
Yeah, the whole week was unbelievable. I was obviously, in my home city of Glasgow. We had the, public workout on the Wednesday, which was incredible, and sitting at the centre in front of about 1,000 people. Got the week started. Then on Thursday we had the press conference, which was interesting with Jay. Friday we had the weigh-in, which was even more interesting with Jay. Saturday we had the show at the Hydro, the Oval Hydro, which is one of the probably biggest and best venues in Glasgow for a boxing night. So it was everything you can imagine and a little bit more. I think given the fact that it was such a so many talking points from the actual event itself and the boxing and everything like that kind of added to the occasion and just made it a little bit more, special to be involved in such a big stage and big event. And
I know from following you as well, you're proud of where you come from. So what was it like fighting in Scotland, in Glasgow?
Yeah, believe it or not, I've actually, the only other time I fought in Glasgow and it wasn't even Glasgow, it was Motherwell, was at the National Championships. And I actually fought in the Western District final, which is in the hotel behind the Hydro, the Crown Plaza. So very few times I've actually fought in Glasgow. So to get the chance to fight at the Hydro was unbelievable. I think I had about 200 odd people there watching me that had sold tickets to different things. Plus loads of other people who are, friends in common with other people that had bought tickets and everything. So it was unbelievable. Thought I got a really good reception for the crowd. And, when you were walking out and back, there's that many people you see in the crowd you want to go up and talk to and different things. So it was unreal.
And you mentioned the weigh-in, the press conference. There was a little bit of sort of back and forth between you and Jay. Was there like a genuine dislike between you both?
I like Jay. I don't dislike him. He's a lovable idiot, if that makes sense. I think he tried to create a bit of an edge for himself in the fight week. I don't really know what he was talking about half the time when, ignoring him. He added to the occasion. He built up the fight. He probably got more people interested in it, perhaps wouldn't have been. So, yeah, but after that, I just went up to him and said, look, you've always had my respect. I've always, you're a tough bloke. I hit him with some shots and I thought, how the hell is that guy still standing there? So he's a tough individual and he's definitely gained my respect.
Yeah, when you reflect on the fight, how hard was it? Because, you just mentioned you hit him with some big shots and you did. I rewatched it today to get it fresh in my mind. And every time he looked like he was in trouble and the fight was about to be stopped, it almost fueled his fire, and then he came back. It looked like he was continuously looking for a big overhand right. What was it like being in the ring? And
yeah, I mean, he caught me with one good body shot, and I wouldn't say it hurt me. I never felt that I was going to go down or I was in trouble, but I acknowledged it. It was a good shot. He caught me a couple overhand rights. None of them really troubled me. I think everybody's, going on about how good Jay's chin is, but I think I've got a decent chin as well. I don't want to really have to rely on it. I'd like to try and not get hit and test it, but it's always there if, I need to rely on it. So I felt comfortable. I felt, other than that body shot in the 6th round, I pretty much controlled the whole fight. Like you said, on you go.
No, I was going to say, how hurt was you with that body shot?
Yeah, it was a good shot, but listen, if you go swimming, you get wet. So if you jump in a box ring, you're probably going to get whacked a couple of times. So, listen, it was nothing I wasn't prepared for. And like I say, you deal with it. Like, it was good shot. He's a 20-stone man, so he's got a bit of weight behind his punches. It was a good shot, but like I say, never crossed my mind to go down, take a knee, look for the easy way out. So none of that crossed my mind. I was ready to keep going. There was never any danger of me stopping.
And round 6 was an absolute blinder. It was non-stop, some big shots. Incredible. It just sort of really came to life. What was it like in that round? Because again, he took some big shots. You mentioned your chin. You took some big shots as well.
Yeah, do you know what? It's hard to actually see until you go back and watch it. It's hard to actually remember what exactly happened in what round. But I can just, after having watched back and trying to call back on, what I was thinking at the time, it was one of them. I kind of felt like I had been well in control of the whole fight, and I maybe felt like you got a wee bit of, success for the body, and it kind of spurred them on a little bit. And I can remember just walking back to the corner after the 6th round and being like, I'm just going to have to wipe him out here in the next round because I don't want to give him any kind of momentum or any, false hope that he's coming back into the fight. So that was all I can really remember thinking back, that I'm going to have to come out and have a massive 7th round here. And that was it.
And when you are caught with a shot in a fight, how hard is it to almost be poker faced and act like you're not actually hurt, you're fine?
I don't really know. I think it's one of those things you don't know how you're going to react until you're put in that situation. I always remember watching back. It was Anthony Joshua talking about the Klitschko fight, and he said at no point in his career had he ever been taken into a boxing gym, whacked by a baseball bat, and said, "Right, now you've got to continue fighting." So it's just one of those things you can either deal with it or you can't. So fair play to Jay. Took some. I think I counted after the knockdown in the 7th round. I think I must have landed about 40 or 50 punches, and he just, you could see he was hurt by some of them, but he wasn't for giving up. So fair play to him. He's a tough man.
Yeah, credit to him. He was a tough man. He took some big shots and kept on coming back. What was your emotions when the fight was finished? How did you feel? Was it a bit of relief? Because I imagine at some points you were hitting him with shots and you're thinking, am I ever going to stop this fella?
Nah, it wasn't relief. I always believed, this is the thing, a lot of people would listen to Jay in the fight week, and he's a very outspoken character, and he talks a great game. So I feel as if a lot of people kind of bought into what he was saying about his experience and what he was going to do, and if he's a different caliber. I never really bought into all that. I knew that I would wipe Jay out, but I wouldn't say relieved. I was just happy to get the result, happy to get the stoppage. He's never been stopped before, so it was a mixture of happy and content. And, obviously at the same time as well, I'm hard on myself. So I was thinking to myself as well, I wish I'd have done that in 3 or 4 rounds rather than 7. So, it's just the fighter in me is always looking to improve and try and do the best I can. But I was just happy, to be honest with you. I thought I was winning the fight from early on. So I was just happy to get the job done. There was no relief. I never ever felt in danger or felt that the result was going to go any other way. So I was just happy to get the win.
And have you watched the fight back yet?
I've watched it a couple of times, yeah. So definitely, loads of room for improvement. I'm my own worst critic. My coach, Dan, he's not actually went over it with me yet, but there's definitely a few things he's going to, be looking to improve on. My manager, Mark, I'm sure there's a couple of things he wants to kind of chip in as well when he has a watch back at it, as I'm sure he has. So, listen, I was happy with the performance. I was happy with certain aspects, but there's definitely room for improvement. Definitely.
And how did you celebrate after the fight?
Mate, I just went back to the hotel and managed to get a lot of my friends and family in who weren't staying. Managed to sneak them in. We all just had a couple of beers and a moment between us all just to kind of celebrate. Went round with a belt, get my photo taken with a couple of people. But it was great way to finish the night, just with close ones and loved ones, and just enjoying the moment, making the most of it.
No, of course, it must have been nice to, because you make a lot of sacrifices before a fight, so it must have been nice to get the win, and as you said, we've celebrated with friends and family, have a couple of beers. So what's next? I know you're very early on in your pro career, but you are a Scottish heavyweight champ now, and you're in a great division. So what's next for you?
Yeah, listen, I think realistically, the Scottish heavyweight title added to the bout, and the fact that there was two actual Scottish heavyweights to contest for it. But realistically, I'm a realist, and I know I've still got loads to learn. So might be a case of another fight, someone a similar standard to Jay, not a similar standard in the sense of what Jay's like as a fighter, but similar record, similar kind of pedigree, experience. Gonna get pose me with a few more challenges. I've still got loads to learn. I'm only 5-0. I know I'm a bit older, but I'm in no rush. I know that these things take time, and the only way you can get the experience is getting the rounds under your belt. So I'm not going to start calling anybody out. I'm still learning. I still want to improve. I still think there's a lot to see from me. So it's just going to be about getting another opponent who's going to challenge me, ask me questions, and take it from there. Another hard 8 to 12 week camp in the gym, plenty of sparring, plenty of going around and learning my craft, and take it from there.
And going back to the division that you're in, I'm not asking you to call anyone out, but if you could name a few fighters that are currently active that you wouldn't mind getting in with at some point further down the line, can you think of any names that you'd like to jump in with at some point?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Joshua, you get paid a few £1 million for fighting him, so when he jumped in the ring. And listen, like I say, the British heavyweight division at the moment is bustling. We've got loads of guys, guys that I've known personally, guys that are on the same weight division as me. Just a couple names off the top of my head. You've got the likes of Solomon Dakers, Johnny Fisher, Fabio Wardley's obviously a bit ahead. Fraser Clark's just jumped in the division.
Yeah.
Tommy Welch down in Brighton. There's loads of good guys, and there's loads of good fights to make. But like you say, it's about making those fights at the right time for all of us, and making sure that there's something on the line, because there's no point in fighting one another unless it's for something. There's point, like, we're prize fighters at the end of the day. That's what we do for a living. So it's about when these opportunities present themselves, we take them.
Yeah, because Fraser Clark as well, he's with Boxer, and I understand that you've got one more. Is it one more fight with Boxer on Sky?
Yeah, I believe so. Do you know what? I don't really even know. I let my manager Mark sort all that. I think I signed a 3-fight deal. Don't know if the 10-round title fight, how that affects it, because that was never written in, obviously, to the contract. So I'll let Mark sort it. I'm not too worried about it.
And looking at yourself as well, one of the reasons why we like doing the podcast is because some people will watch this and know your story, but for those people watching that don't know, can you tell us a little bit about your route into boxing?
Yeah, so I was obviously a professional rugby player. As I'm sure if you watch any of the TV shows, the Sky pundits like to mention it quite a lot. So I'm an ex-professional rugby player. Very raw, very novice coming into the game. Had a bit of amateur experience. Won the Scottish, all the bit like Scottish amateur titles. Moved through the ranks. Got into the Scotland team. We went to a couple of international tournaments. Competed for Scotland. Then at the start of 2021, decided to turn pro. So finished rugby 2017, turned pro in 2021 with the boxing, and in between that, obviously, fought amateur. So that's my background. I'm under no illusion where I'm at. I know I've got a lot of work to do, but I work hard and I dedicate myself to the sport. So who knows where it's going to take me, but let's just see.
And you spoke about your team a little while ago, that they look after you. And I know, you are only 5-0, so very early on, but taking the right fights at the right time, how far can you go in the sport?
Listen, I find it difficult, to I don't really like. It's not my style. I don't know if it's from my rugby days. We're very respectful. We kind of respect the opposition and what they're about. We don't say we're going to go in and wipe them off the pitch with 40 points or anything like that. So maybe I need to learn to be a bit more brash. But yeah, listen, I kind of said when I first started boxing, if I could get to a British title, that would be some achievement for me, I think. And also given the fact there's never been a Scottish British heavyweight champion. But like I said, I'm just taking it one fight at a time, just trying to see how far I can go. And what I would say is whatever I do manage to achieve, it will be the absolute maximum that I could achieve because I dedicate myself to it and I give 100%. So whatever I do manage to achieve, I'll have earned it and I've worked hard for it. So that's all I can do.
Yeah, and I respect that, one fight at a time. I think maybe sometimes when you think too far ahead, maybe that's when complacency may sort of creep in. What have you made of the Six Nations so far? Being a rugby man.
Listen, I was a wee bit disappointed with Scotland, to be honest with you. We kind of had that first game, we done really well, beat England, and then we've just kind of fell short in the next two games. Obviously, Wales was a game that we could have won. And obviously France, a good outfit, but we were in the game till half time. So I was a wee bit disappointed with that. I think the French are a cracking team. I think they'll win, and I think they'll win the Grand Slam this year. I think Ireland aren't far behind them. And I think Wales and England and Scotland to a certain extent are still in a kind of transition period where they're nearly, just simmering, they're nearly at boiling point to get their game together. So hopefully Scotland can do well in their next two games coming up and try and get in the top four. I don't even know what's mathematically possible for them, but I'd like to see them finish on a couple of wins. I think France for the Grand Slam.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to go off to a great start. It was funny actually because obviously I'm English and Sport England, and I had to watch the second half of that match around a good friend of mine's, and he's Scottish and his whole family is Scottish. And it was a hostile environment, but I'm glad Scotland won because I don't think I would have got out there alive.
Mate, do you know what? I said that as well on. I said that it's been so long since Scotland managed to beat England back to back, and I think it was quite important, because Scotland have always had that kind of tag of the nearly team, like they nearly get a good result, but then they always fall short. And there was obviously a lot of pressure. Eddie Jones had played it up that they were the underdogs and everything, and it was good to see the boys go out and, put them at the sword. I'm sorry, no offence, but
I'm not going to disagree with you either.
That's one of the good things about rugby as well. It's not like football. I'm a Celtic supporter. I've got Rangers mates, but when it comes to Old Fundy, you don't talk to one another. It's like proper war. But at least when rugby, even if it's the Kolkata Cup day and Scotland are playing England, you can still have a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. It's not too serious. We like to win, but it's not life or death. Whereas sometimes the football literally is life or death. So that's a good thing about rugby. It's you can have a bit of banter and nobody gets too offended.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that because I had to phone the bank once and the call centre was in Scotland, and I said to the lad, I said, "Oh, do you follow football?" He said, "Like, yeah." I was like, "Who do you support?" Because he was in Glasgow. I said, "It's obviously got to be Celtic or Rangers." He said, we're not allowed to talk about it. It's madness. And funny you say it as well, because I was listening to Talk Sport earlier, and there's talk about a tournament between Celtic and Rangers in Australia. I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a lot of people that don't want to see it happen because they just don't want to be in a friendly. What are your thoughts on that? And would you like to see it happen? Because obviously the revenue they would make is, I think, the same amount they make in a whole season with the money they get from like the TV.
Yeah. One thing I can tell you is there will never be a friendly against Celtic and Rangers, no matter what it's dubbed as. But I think, listen, the Celtic and Rangers are, disadvantaged by the fact that they're Scottish teams, but they've got more support and a better worldwide following than most of the teams in England, bar a couple. So I think if they're going to branch out and do things like that, it's only going to be positive, because like you say, they could bring in enough revenue to cover them for the whole seater that they would get from the SPL or whatever you call it, the SFL, in a whole season. So, no, definitely moving forward, I think things like that are positive. There's a massive expat community out in Australia as well, so I'm pretty sure they'd fill a stadium, no problem.
What did you make of Stephen Gerrard's time at Rangers?
No comment. I'd rather not talk about it.
Listen. No, go on.
I used to like Stephen Gerrard, and you know that debate, Lampard and Gerrard, whenever you would get asked, I was always a Gerrard fan. As soon as he took the Rangers job, Lampard was the man. He was the best player. But I know, listen, he done a great job with Rangers. He obviously managed to stop the 10 in a row, unfortunately. And seems to be doing a good job with Aston Villa as well. So, credit to him. As much as I hate to say it, he looks like he's going to be a good manager. He was a cracking player. And like I say, he's a bit of a hero in the blue side of Glasgow now.
And what about Celtic? I think the manager is, in fact, Australia. Probably makes sense why they're being linked with a tournament in Australia. What do you make of the job that he's doing?
Listen, I think he's brilliant. Ange Postecoglou, no, he's cracking. It's funny, there's a guy, Matt Taylor, who's now the defence coach for the Australian rugby team, and he knows him. And I had a quick chat with him. And Matt's a pretty inspirational guy. You know, when he speaks, he's got the whole room. Very great, very, very good coach, great speaker, commands respect and gets it. And he said to me, he says, I've been to a couple of, imagine you do kind of coaching courses and just leadership stuff and all that. And Ange Postecoglou had been at the same one, even though it's rugby and football. And he said he's a cracking guy. He speaks very well, and he was really respected in Australia. So I think we're only starting to see what he's capable of at Celtic. And I think, we're in the league now, 3 points in the league and 8 games to go. So he could maybe do it in his first season, but I think 100% we're going to win a couple of trophies under him.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of talk whether he was right for the job at the time. But yeah, no, he seems to have sort of got his feet under the table quite quickly and doing a good job for you. And for your sake, I hope they go on and win the league.
I hope so.
I follow football, but it seems like an incredible derby. Hopefully, I'll get to go to one. I went to a United and the United City derby. That was great, but the Old Firm derby is spoke about so much, and I can imagine the atmosphere.
I'm actually loose. I'm not related to him, but my cousin, his grandfather was Billy McNeil. Anybody who's a Celtic or Rangers supporter will know who Billy McNeil was, the greatest ever captain for Celtic, won the European Cup in 1967. He actually managed Man City back in the 80s. And he was telling me, because I briefly met him a couple of times at different family events, and he was telling me when he was managing Man City, the wee kit man for Man City had said to him, wait till you see the Manchester derby, it's unbelievable. So Billy's obviously played this first Manchester derby, the wee kit man's came in to him and said, what do you think? And he went, it's all right. It's all right. He goes, I'll take you an Old Firm and you'll know what I'm talking about. So the next Old Firm game that was available and they could go, he took this wee guy down. They were driving back up the road or down the road to Manchester, and they sat in silence for half an hour after the game. And then when he finally spoke, he went, Jesus Christ, you weren't kidding about that. So that gives you an idea. The Old Firm derby is, if any neutral supporter out there is listening and you get a chance to go to an Old Firm derby, don't miss it. It's one of the best experiences you'll ever have in football.
Even better as well, hopefully, when the Rangers, I think it's the same both sides, but let the away fans in.
Well, this is it. I've never been to one of the Old Firm games where there's been no away support, so hopefully they can get it together, because it definitely adds to the occasion. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it does look incredible. I suppose I better ask you a boxing question now.
Yeah, go
on. Again, you're in a brilliant division. So much going on at the moment. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Wyatt not turning up to the press conference last week.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dylan is he's an interesting character from time to time. He's a hell of a fighter. But I think he's obviously just not wanting to get into the mind games with Fury. Maybe that's why he's not turned up. I don't really know his reasons for not turning up, so it's hard to comment on it. But I as a boxing fan, I was a little bit disappointed. I think that, you know, we're all going to buy the pay-per-view and sit and watch it. So as much as he doesn't like Tyson, or Tyson doesn't like him, or whatever his reasons are for not doing it, whether it's contractually or between him and the WBC, whatever it may be, I feel he owes it to the supporters to be turning up to these events and to be putting on the show and be giving everybody the material they want to see before fight night. So hopefully that'll be the only one he doesn't show up to.
Yeah, that's it. I think they're both great characters. I was looking forward to the press conference, bit of back and forth. I thought it'd be brilliant. But yeah, I think for the people that, you know, go out and work and spend their hard-earned money on fights, whether they're going to the actual event or watching at home, I think, yeah, it's just a shame. Like you say, if you'd have gone out your way to turn up and then for him not to turn up, you would have gone away disappointed.
Oh, 100%. And like I say, I can't really comment on it because I don't know his reasons, you know, or you hear what his reasons may be or whatever it is. But as a boxing fan, I was genuinely a wee bit disappointed because I wanted to see the fireworks at the press conference. But hopefully there's more ahead and plenty to look forward to in that department.
I hope so. And just going on to AJ Usyk, there's a lot of uncertainty when that will happen now because of what's going on in the world, unfortunately. But when they get back in the ring, how do you see that going?
You know, it's difficult. Usyk's an unbelievable boxer. I think if Josh tries to box him, I can't see Usyk getting beat. But if Josh tries to use his attributes and his size and his strength, which is easier said than done, you know, against a guy as good as Alexander Usyk, I think it could be a different night. So it all depends on his tactics. It all depends on Usyk's tactics. But it's a fight that I can believe either man can win. I think it just genuinely does boil down to the tactics. If he goes in with this, like, you know, how he wanted to try and box him, I just can't see him outboxing Usyk. If he goes in and tries to knock him out, there's every chance. So, whatever happens or whatever the result may be, whatever tactics are used, I think it all adds to you know, it makes you want to even watch the second one even more because of what happened in the first one. So, I think genuinely will. Who gets the tactics right? That's what it's gonna be won and lost. And that might sound like a bit of a vague answer, but I genuinely feel depends what tactics he goes on with.
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. Just a couple more from me. Any other fights, you know, you're looking out for this year? There's lots of talk about, you know, whether Amir Khan's going to retire. There's speak about him acting the rematch clause. Apparently, he's not done. There's talk about Eubank fighting Ben. Any fights that you're looking forward to? Any fights you'd like to see be made?
Well, I genuinely wouldn't like that Amir Khan and Kell Brook fight to be made. I think Amir Khan's been an amazing servant to the sport of boxing. He's given a lot to the sport. But I think, you know, age catches up with everybody. And maybe it's just time for him to... He's got nothing else to prove. He's done everything. He's a two-time world champ, a unified world champion, or a two-time world champion. He's done everything in the sport, silver medalist at the Olympic Games, made millions. So, I wouldn't like to see him in the ring again, to be honest with you. Not with Kell Brook. There was talk of Kell Brook fighting Eubank. They're talking about a catch weight. I'd love to see that fight. I think Kell Brook's... it's a hard fight for him if he fights Eubank. But again, be interesting. I think the Eubank-Ben fight, that's an interesting fight. The Brook-Ben fight's an interesting fight. There's loads of good fights to be made. You know, boxing, a week in boxing or a month in boxing is a very, very long time. So who knows what fights are going to be made in the up and coming weeks. But I'm definitely looking forward to the White and Fury fight. That's the main one on my calendar at the moment. The one I'll be tuning into. But
and when should we next expect you back in the ring?
You know, I don't know. I've picked up a wee injury in the last fight, which I'm dealing with at the moment. So as soon as I get that cleared up, which I will, I'll be making plans. And like I say, I don't really get too involved in the decision making processes, such as when I fight, I just let my management team and my coach Dan sort all that out. So they'll be working behind the scenes to get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and we'll be back in the ring soon.
And away from boxing, outside of the ring, what do you enjoy doing?
Do you know what? I love a good cup of coffee. I love going to the cinema. I went to the cinema last night and seen the new Batman movie. I'm not actually a big party animal. I'm not a big drinker either for a Scotsman. Very rarely have a drink. I had a few beers after my fight, but other than that, I like to just enjoy the simple things in life. A nice cup of coffee, going to the cinema, spending that nice time and a nice day, going for a nice walk, just the simple pleasures, nothing too extravagant. But just a bit of downtime in between fights, spending it with loved ones and close ones, and I'm a basic simple man. I'm not flash Harry.
And are you watching anything good at the moment? Because it feels like I've watched everything there is to watch over lockdown. Anything you can recommend?
Mate, do you know what I started watching the other day? You know the Tiger King? Is it the Tiger King?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
They've just brought out a series, and I watched the first episode of it the other day about Carol Baskin and what's your Joe Exotic. So that was actually quite good. I'd maybe tune in for that. Peaky Blinders has obviously just started. I don't know if you've watched any of that. I'm waiting for a couple of weeks because I like to watch 2 or 3 in the one go.
Yeah.
So I'll be irritated if I only watch one at a time. And then I don't know if you've ever watched The Godfathers. It's an old The Godfathers, The Sopranos. But if you've never watched The Sopranos, watch The Sopranos. The best TV show ever made, without a doubt.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm always on the lookout for something good to watch, because if not, honestly, my missus has us watching some proper dodgy shows. So yeah, always on the lookout. But before we let you, go on.
My manager Mark Dunlop, he likes to watch X on the Beach. Is it X on the Beach?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
And then Married at First Sight. So if Mark gets a chance to tune in this, that's his recommendation. He swears by it. He says it's the best program he's ever seen. Whenever I'm in camp and I stay at his house, he comes and tells me about how much he loves it and what was happening. He can believe it. So, recommendation from Mark Dunlop, X on the Beach, or Married at First Sight.
Don't. That Marriage on the First Sight, my missus watching like the Australian version. And
I think that's the one Mark watches.
Yeah, honestly. So like, you see him get married, obviously, at first sight, and then like, oh, you're not my cup of tea, or I don't get you. It's like, well, what do you expect? But honestly, mate, she watches some dribble. But before we let you go, anything you'd like to add? Anyone you want to sort of shout out, or anything else you want to add? Add to the podcast.
God, there's a good question. Well, listen, I never really get an opportunity to, because it's always on TV and you've got to be careful who you say. But to all my sponsors, massive shout out. Without them, it wouldn't be possible to be doing what I'm doing. I can't for the life. I've got quite a few, so I'm going to struggle, but I'll name a couple. I've got Pants and Socks, StillageNet, Harmony Consulting Group, Lizelle & Co, Vehicle Workshop, Peter Green Builders, High Life Construction, Meal Prep by James. God, who else have we got? Avalon Chiropractic Clinic, Randall's over in Jersey Brewery. God, who else have we got? Christine's Cafe in Glasgow, my mum's cafe, sponsor from day zero. Best cafe in Glasgow and Denniston. If anybody's listening, go and give them a try. Northern Vans, also good Glasgow company. Aye, but if I've missed anybody, check out my Instagram. All my sponsors are on my little highlight at the bottom of my page. You can check them out. They're all good people. All help me get to where I want to be. So a massive thank you to all of them.
Yeah, we speak to lots of fighters, and you're obviously on a huge platform, Sky, but we speak to fighters that on the small hall shows, and they say how important sponsors are. Without those, they literally just can't make it happen.
No, listen, I mean, you say you're fighting on a massive platform, but genuinely, if it wasn't for my sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to train, and I wouldn't be able to dedicate myself like I do. So, aye, every one of them is very, very important to me. And Grant Thornton International in Jersey, don't forget them. But aye, without them, I genuinely wouldn't be able to do it. So, massive thank you to everyone.
Well, mate, congratulations again from us. You know, heavyweight Scottish champion. You know, great fight. You know, great end to it. And you know, I hope you sort your injury out, you know, soon as well, so we can see you back in the ring.
Listen, I've had worse. It's part of the sport. It's an occupational hazard. When you train full time, something's got to give every now and then. So just a bit adapting and overcoming, and I'll be fine. I'll be back in the ring soon, better than ever. So thanks for all your support, and thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it, and hopefully I get to speak to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You're very welcome. I'll keep an eye out on your pages to see when your next fight, and we'll get you back on.
Yeah, and anybody that's listening, if you want to give me a follow, it's Nick A. Campbell 1, Twitter and Instagram. Give us a follow, and like you say, keep up to date with all the things that's happening.
We'll put your links in the description of the video as well, mate.
Brilliant. I will. Give us a follow. You can keep up to date with when I'm out, what's happening, and bore you to death with some of my stories.
Well, top man, Nick, thanks ever so much, and congratulations again.